It's very unprofessional.
Hello.
Hello.
You made it.
Hello. I did make it, yes. I managed. I found a way.
Yeah, just download Chrome. It's a pain in the bum. I hear everybody out there watching this in everywhere land.
Hello.
As usual, it is myself, everywhere land. Everywhere land. It's myself and is Dwayne, and we also have the Sam with us, who runs the Truth Beyond Paranormal that Wayne does. So there you go. And she's going to be out of her comfort zone tonight because a lot of you guys don't realise she likes UFOs and ufology and cryptozoology and things like that. So we're going to be talking about stuff like that tonight.
Yeah.
Have you by chance been on a modelling shoot?
No, I haven't actually. I just literally my eyebrows are so dark. I don't know what the hell happened. Like literally, I was like, what the hell is that?
I was going to say, I think Sam fell in a compact.
Yeah. I think it's because I did everything else really, really light. So my brows now look really dark.
We know you did it with a Sharpie. It's fine.
It looks that way, doesn't it?
I don't know. So, for those of you who don't know this young lady here, why don't you tell people a bit about yourself?
So obviously I come from the TBP side of things, which is Truth Beyond Paranormal. So we tend to investigate more along the lines of the hauntings and that sort of side of the paranormal, rather than anything to do with UFOs and the alien side. But I am also very interested in a lot of what has been going on recently within the news and everything like that in regards to the side of the extraterrestrial stuff as well. So yeah, that's a little bit about me. That's where I come from. I do all of the editing and everything and investigating with TBP with Wayne. So that's where we know each other from.
And this young lady is also the young lady who was with us in Rendlesham Forest. And you didn't see it, did you? You didn't see the UFO that most of us saw, did you? Because you were wandering around.
No, I was trying to look after two other individuals that kept on walking around and getting lost. So I ended.
That's right.
So I ended up, yeah. So I ended up not seeing what Wayne and Mark saw, unfortunately, that night.
When we were down in Rendlesham Forest and they were filming for TVP, there was myself, Wayne, and there was about 5 or 6 of us, weren't there? And we just sort of playing back on the UFO, and we were watching these UFOs and stuff, and we were like, "Oh my god, hello!" And we were like, "Oh my god, if only these guys could see it." And then about 5 minutes after it all finished, she comes down and we were like, "Oh, you know what you missed!" And she was like, "Oh."
Yeah, I literally was. I remember saying that on camera and Wayne just being like, "You can't say that on camera." I was like, "Oh."
Yes, that was good. Right.
It was very interesting though, hearing from you two what you guys had actually witnessed that night was quite interesting. And I do remember that we did see a lot of very strange anomalies. And we were looking on our apps, weren't we, on whether we could find any airplanes or anything that were going past at the time, and there wasn't any, which seemed a little bit odd.
There was no Starlink satellites. There was no the ISS hadn't gone over. There was nothing else in the air, and on the military FREDAR there was no planes going over. Even the ones that shot off after the UFOs didn't have their transponders on. So it was like, please, I'll have a cup of tea, please. Never. So yeah, none of those were on there, and that one that I took the picture of, and Wayne managed to get the picture of as well. That what people don't realise when they look at the pictures is that was so high up that if that thing had been like 100 feet above us, it would have been the size of, I reckon,
Hi, Barry.
pitches. 2, 1. It must have been at least 3 football pitches. But you can't get that from the picture. All you can see 3 points of light.
Yeah, it would have been, whatever that was, would have been extremely large. Because when you can see it like we could, or what you guys could in that image, when you can see it from that far above,
Yeah,
clear as day, you know that it's not possible, you know, to be any. It would have to be quite large.
Well, God, yeah.
And I think
Barry,
the thing was
Tony,
as well.
everybody, Rita, hello, everybody. It was huge.
I think
Hello.
what sort of made it a little bit more interesting was the fact that it was a clear night. There was only a few wispy clouds about. There was moon there, so
Yeah,
you know there was a bit of moonlight. But obviously, looking at those 3 points, we discovered that there was no stars in
Moonlight
those 3
music
points.
sounds.
So we're like, okay, that's a bit strange because you could see stars everywhere. There's no light pollution apart from what there was from the moon.
no.
But obviously, there was nothing in that triangle. It was pure black. And then we noticed a wisp of cloud passed underneath it. So we know that it was very high up.
Nothing to worry about.
So,
Just a bit of
you
progress.
know, just judging by the size of it, we must have put it down to at least 3 or 4 football pitches easily.
Easily, wasn't it? Yeah.
It was
Mm.
massive.
This thing was stratosphere. You could see it was stratosphere because it was blocking out all the stars behind it because stars were all around the shape of the triangle.
Yeah,
Inside it,
that was the one thing that I did take away from it, was I was thinking there was enough stars in that sky for you, if it just was stars, but we couldn't see any other stars like in that sort of area that we were looking at, could we? Even zoomed in, you couldn't see any stars in that area where those points were. So it was extremely odd, because how can you kind of, it's hard to get your head around that, to be honest, because if there's loads of stars all over the sky, why just in that area is there none?
exactly.
It's very odd.
Joe's just raised a good point. I'll go through something with you in a minute, actually. Thank you, Don. Is it terrifying because it's unknown? Could be very, very true, because it's like when you get people in the paranormal field who claim to be experts in the paranormal. Like none of us can be paranormal experts or UFO experts or cryptozoology experts, because we've never actually had a real one that we can physically touch and find out all the stuff about. So we can't be experts until we actually got something to do. So, but is it? I think a lot of it is fear of the unknown, because I don't think these people are going to travel all these hundreds and thousands of miles just to shove things up our asses, you know.
I mean, you never know, but
I mean, yes, some of you may like it, Sam, and stuff like that, you know. But
we've gone into unknown territory.
but I don't know. I did you know, right? Because although you follow UFOs and stuff, you're fairly new to the subject, aren't you?
Yeah, I mean, of course, I've looked into the possibilities and stuff before. You know, I have looked at different things on Reddit, and I have looked at different things when they come up on TikTok and everything. And I know that there's a lot of stuff on TikTok that can't really be taken as gospel.
There's a lot of,
but there's also a lot of stuff that I have seen which can be quite odd. That's kind of unexplainable as well on there. But yeah, I haven't really seen loads about this sort of side of things, the extraterrestrial side, but I am very interested.
Do you believe that out of all those pinpoints of light that are out there in the sky at night, for each pinpoint of light that you see, there's at least 2 planets capable of hosting life? And the thing is, it doesn't have to be carbon-based life like us. There could be silicon-based life or other things. Do you believe that out of the billions and billions and billions and billions of planets that are capable of holding life, do you think that we're alone in the cosmos, as some stubborn people do?
No, just straight up, it's an impossibility I feel that we could be the only forms of life in even just in our solar system. We have no idea whether in our solar system there is people that are far more, I say people, entities that are beings that are far more advanced with technology and everything than we are. I think personally, probably the reason as to why we haven't seen anything of note, like ourselves as individuals, is probably because of the fact that, why would they need to come to us? If they have technology that is like 5,000, 8,000, however many thousand years ahead of us, why would they need to come to Earth? Do you get what I mean?
Exactly. However, we will get to that particular juxtapose in a minute. But, and I said the word but, Wayne, would you like to, I won't say Wayne, would you like to fill Sam in, because that sounds totally wrong. Wayne, would you like to tell Sam about the Pope and the conclave? The Pope.
Would I like to tell about the Pope? Or?
With all his bishops. Oh, Jesus, that's all.
What? Lovely. Sorry.
What happened?
I was just sidetracked by I was just sidetracked by Mrs. Wayne showing me a video of some idiot driving their car into a house.
Oh, that's not what we want.
Not really UFO related, but hey ho.
It's not alien related, but it's definitely alien to some people.
Must have been an alien driving the car.
I was going to say they may have lots of good technology, but they don't know how to drive our cars.
Yeah. I think part and parcel of all this business with the recent disclosure and Congress coming into light regards to evidence of aliens and UFOs, it's all been slowly coming to the forefront. And one of the biggest rumors, which has held a lot of weight to it because there has been proof of it, was the Pope grabbing all his cardinals and high-ranking Catholic ministers, going into a 2-week conclave and actually discussing how they are going to explain to the masses that there are other beings out there.
Yep.
So it's
that's going to be an interesting.
It really happened, and he came out and said there are from people from other planets, and we have to respect that their gods are different to ours, didn't he? And he came out and categorically stated that NASA have paid the Vatican $3 million to train some of their guys up into how to speak to religious people and explain that the aliens are really here. If there's nothing going on, why did NASA pay them $3 million?
Yeah, I was going to say, if there was nothing of note within what they were saying, why would they have put the money in for that? Yeah, it seems that there is a hell of a lot that's going on at the moment along those sorts of lines. It's a lot of, why would they say, like with the threats and everything that was going on in the Congress side as well, Mark and Wayne, they were saying, why would somebody get threatened if there wasn't truth in what this guy was saying? It's obvious that there was a reason why he was getting threatened, because they were getting too close to home.
I can't remember the names of them because I'm terrible with names, but it was the bald guy who was sat down, who'd done all the interviewing and all the investigating. His wife was threatened with an audit and this, that, and the other. And it came out only when he refused to back down from going to the Senate. As soon as he said he was going to do that and he wasn't going to back down, he stated on the thing, they're going to audit me, so I can't say too many things. They're going to audit my wife and they're going to investigate my wife. I don't want to jeopardize that. And the senators were like, oh, really? Are they now? Yeah,
they were very sort of like, we want to put forward that he has stated that this is happening to him, and why would it happen? Why would they threaten if there wasn't some truth?
Exactly.
And this in itself just proves that the ideology of Project Blue Book still exists.
Yes.
And it's now, obviously, the Project Blue Book, I think, stopped in the late 60s, didn't it? something like
It
that.
did, yeah.
And
then
I
it-
think it stopped like 7. It's supposed to. I think it stopped 72, but all they did
Yeah.
was change the name to a different thing.
They basically sort of came forward and said Project Blue Book is now finished. It's over with. Why you would publicise that is one thing, but then obviously it continued, but it continued under another guise, and now it's known as ATAP.
Yeah.
And they're now responsible for doing exactly the same thing as what Project Blue Book did. And you think, well, hang on a minute, if you shut Project Blue Book off in the 70s, and now you're actually saying that there is a team called ATAP that is doing exactly the same thing, what's happened in between? And the answer is it's been undercover. It's been literally hush, hush, top quiet, and people have still been told this is what's going to happen if you open your mouth. But as me and Mark have been saying for ages now, it's a case of, because of the likes of social media. So you've got your Twitter, Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, all of these social media platforms now all over the world, where people are now able to put their evidence, their footage, and news about what's been going on is now so widespread that the likes of the governments of the world can't stop it.
No.
You know, they're powerless to do anything about it. And obviously with the original disclosure, it was only a certain short period of time of information that they were giving out. And it was literally specific chosen bits of information. It wasn't all of it. It was just specifically chosen parts from certain years. I think it was something like 94 to 2007 or something, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was it was definitely to
It was a
2007.
very short space of time. So it's a case of, well, what about the incidences before that time, and what about the incidences after that time?
Exactly.
Like the Travis Walton case. Travis Walton case is probably one of the most sort of highlighted abduction cases that was eventually turned into a film, Fire in the Sky.
Yep.
You know, there's no truth apart from what that film is depicting. That's all we know of. But all of the background information that went into making that film has come from him and his mates.
Yeah, it's all got a reliable source from somewhere.
And nothing from the people that did the likes of the lie detector tests. Nothing from the government. It's literally just come from the witnesses, and that's it.
And all these people who disappear, or before the advent of social media and the cameras that we've got on phones that are so good now, all the people that disappeared. But now, because social media is so prevalent, and you've got people out there who are whistleblowing, and it's gone out. You can't just off them now, because otherwise everybody's going to go, you did it.
Yeah.
Yeah, like, I don't feel it would be really difficult, wouldn't it? Because if they basically turned around and they back down and they kind of backtrack now, it's kind of like, well, what else are you lying about? Because this has got out, and now you're trying to say that it's something else, or it's something that it isn't.
Yeah.
And it's just whatever way they turn now, I don't feel like they could kind of backtrack on anything or hurt anybody who's associated or anything, because then, like you say, the fingers are going to get pointed from massive.
You know, if you threaten somebody, if you've turned around, say for instance, you reported a UFO sighting, you know, a UFO landed in the field behind you, the good old Men in Black or ATAP come along and said, you're going to have to keep quiet about what you saw, or you saw it was just a normal sort of a government aircraft. If you do say what you saw, and you say the truth of what you saw, we will be back, and you'll have some problems. You know,
some of them,
you will be fearful. You will be fearful, but in this modern age, it's something that they're not going to be able to do anymore, because all you've got to do is you can post what you've seen or heard or whatever on any social media platform, and within minutes it would have gone all around the world 2 times over, and everybody would have known about it.
I was just looking at Dan's question there. You're right, Wayne. I think in the past there was a hell of a lot of misinformation put out there, deliberately leaked in vertical.
Yeah, I was going to say it's been leaked, so that it turns out it's all crap anyway.
They had the first disclosure thing, which was bollocks, and we said it was when we did a show about it and said when it comes out, watch, it's going to be bollocks, and we called it was bollocks. And then they did a second one, and we said that's going to be bollocks, and it was bollocks, and the US Senate went no, we're not having that. You guys work for us. We work for the people. The people want questions. We're asking you the questions, and you are filibustering and gumming up and not saying we're going to do an investigation into this. And to be fair, they've opened up another committee to look into things, and now you've got all these whistleblowers coming out purely because of the safety. Now they know they're safe. They're still being threatened, but
I guess they needed it to. Sorry, Mark, didn't mean to.
That's okay, Sam.
But I guess they needed that, didn't they? They needed that sense of security there, because they're probably terrified that they're going to hound their freaking, mothers and fathers and friends and everybody that they know. They were fearful for their lives, basically.
Yeah.
Just one second. The neuralizer, Eric, we're friends. We know damn well that the neuralizer is code for your Mrs. Busby. Go and put the battery somewhere else and talk about it later. Okay. Right.
I mean, the thing is as well is that, like we say, the social media is sort of the easiest way to spread information now. But the thing is the one thing that the likes of the governments or Western governments and the likes of NASA have no control over is the likes of TikTok. They can't control TikTok because it's not American owned.
It's Chinese owned, actually.
It's Chinese.
Good luck.
The Chinese are quite open and free about allowing these things to go out there.
Yes,
so
they are.
If like with the Las Vegas incident, if it ends up on TikTok, they're powerless to stop it from going on there.
Dan, yeah, and in response to your original question, yes, I think that the stuff that's going on at the moment is real. I think that pilot and a lot of the other whistleblowers, Sam and I were talking earlier in the day, she's seen a load of him, Wayne's seen a load of them, Wayne's seen a load of them, the videos of them coming out and stating stuff, and the stories haven't changed, they haven't detracted. They're not making any money off of it. They're not making any fame or anything off of it. They got nothing.
Yeah, they're not. They wouldn't get anything out of lying.
I think they're telling the truth.
They want it to be heard, and they want the governments of the world to admit what is going on. And the thing was, when they first put in for this to be heard in Congress, the government, Pentagon, and NASA were all for it until they heard who the whistleblowers were. Then the government and Pentagon walked away straight away, followed by NASA.
Yeah. Now NASA have come out and said, actually, there might be stuff coming. Yes, we do know about aliens. We can't say anything. We were talking about earlier, but there's more to come in the future. We've done a committee, another fucking committee.
How many do they need for this one thing?
You've got the Congress opened a committee. You've got NASA opened a committee. You've got the Pentagon opened a committee. You've got the bloody NSA opened a committee. You've got the Overall Defense Network opened a committee. And it's like, bollocks! Can't you just have one committee where you've got trustworthy people in it that will go, this is what happened?
I mean, that's all we're asking for, really, isn't it? We're not asking for 65 different investigations into the same thing. But I guess maybe they will come up with different things in different factions. I don't know.
I mean, with what Dan is saying there, I think, he's right. It won't be as much of a shock. And that's like what me and Mark have been saying for quite some time now, that it's being drip-fed to us. There's more and more stuff being put out there via social media that it's almost second nature to see something strange. Like me and Mark in Rendlesham Forest, we saw something. Well, I think in total, we saw 6 strange things, followed by the 2 jets. Now, we know the 2 jets came from Lakenheath.
To be fair, one of the strange things I did say to Wayne, mate, put your cock away. It's still hanging out from when you went home. And he went, I put it away, and that was one of the strange things that gone. So,
But we've been saying for a while that it was being drip fed to us. So
Yeah.
choice of words after talking about that. Carry on.
they're slowly bringing it further and further forward, so that when the full disclosure does happen, it's not going to be a shock to anybody. We're not going to be worried to it because we've seen it so much on social media now. We're like, yeah, well, we thought about that anyway. And like Mark said a couple of weeks back, the people that were told to be, like most of us, were all sort of labelled the Tin Hat Brigade.
Yep.
We're
Yeah.
no longer the Tin Hat Brigade because we're all standing there going, we've been telling you.
We knew already.
So we're not the Tin Hat
Silly
Brigade.
now.
We have said for 2 years, I think, at least 2 years,
Yeah.
we've said something's coming. And then the last year, isn't it? All the shows we've done, every week I've gone, the UFO sightings have gone up, and they've gone from a normal yearly one sort of went like that, and you'll have times of the year where it goes up and down, and now this time it's just gone, and it stayed like that. And we've said on previous shows, there's something coming, telling you now, something coming, and then all the whistleblowers started to come out, and then they did the full disclosure, and then whistleblowers realised they're not going to be offed all the time.
Hi, Sam. Hi, Sam.
And whistleblowers realised they couldn't be offed all the time. And it gradually got more and more and more and more and more, and more things came out. Now we'll get to what Sam wanted to talk about in a minute as well. But one of the things that really intrigued me and intrigued Wayne was we were looking at a certain Chinese website, and this Chinese website, not the one for One Hung Lo, it was the one for the Chinese moon lander. What's it called? The
Something like that.
Bang Bang Duck, whatever it is. But the Chinese moon lander.
That wasn't racist.
I was born in Hong Kong. I have dual nationality. I have Irish and Chinese nationality, so I can say it. So,
He's allowed. I'll let him off. It's fine.
But
Don't get angry.
we both looked at this website, didn't we? And then we put out a video saying, we've got some explosive stuff here. We're going to do a show tonight. And we were both at the same time watching this website, looking at all this stuff, going, oh my God, and looking at all the photos. And they were supposedly photos of the dark side of the moon with the remains of buildings, bombed out buildings that had been bombed out. And these things had been there thousands of years, not a few years or 50 years, thousands of years. And there was a thing on it saying NASA have deliberately been sending teams up there to bomb the buildings to get rid of any evidence of previous tenants. And they haven't managed to do it because there's so many buildings up there. One of the craters has got a 7-mile high tower in it. They don't know what it's for.
No, I don't know. I don't think it was in a crater. It was on the edge of a crater, wasn't it? Because to the side of it, just to the side of the tower where the crater starts, there was loads of pipes coming out of it.
That's right. Yeah, there was a huge erection at the side of the crater. Anyway,
You could see the pipes coming out, but they apparently the gauge they got made it look about 7 miles high.
Yeah, that's right. And the shadow that fell onto the moon's surface from this thing that they worked it out, it's about 7 miles high.
Yeah.
But
so the shadow was actually created from that.
Yeah.
From the tower.
It's almost like a monolith sort of thing.
Yeah.
And there's also, because I've watched, I won't say where I've seen it, but there are certain parts of the web you can go on and see whistleblowers from before this started. And I watched one in particular, and he was talking about the Galactic Federation, the space program that we've had working since the 60s, basically the student swap program, like we'll swap from like a university in France. They have it for other species, and they'll swap. There was 3 guys went to live on a planet in another bloody galaxy.
There was something came up on TikTok about that.
Thank you. Yeah, that's right.
They were doing a swap thing.
But this stuff, all these things, again, the people that I was watching, none of them wanted money, none of them wanted fame. They weren't trying to be credited. They weren't trying to be nut jobs or anything like that. They were simply stating, and this is one guy who said that their secret base underneath the Nazca lines, and the base underneath the Nazca lines has been there for thousands of years, and they're all intertwined, and they have like a Stargate thing inside it, and you go through it, and you don't even notice you've gone through it, apart from the air feels different and is slightly colder. And he said no one ever said to him where he'd gone when he worked for these guys, but they said you were off-world. And there's supposed to be ones on the moon, Mars, and was it Venus or Saturn? I can't remember, as well as other places. Now, you put all this stuff together, all these people coming out, they'll Phil, and I can't remember his surname, the guy who got shot, he was held up in the middle of that big alien gunfight that was at one of the Roswell places in one of the lower levels. He got taken out. He got taken out for daring to say anything about it. When we've mentioned things before all this happened, when we've mentioned the Bobberments, because we don't say the GOV word
normally,
because when we say that word, things happen on our show, don't they? And
yes,
people stop posting and can't see the show. And
we mentioned the G word too many times, and then all of a sudden our comments got switched off, so no one could actually comment on the show, even when we tried to restart it.
Yeah, I had also been seeing with that same word that I won't mention that a lot of people, when they use it on Reddit, then get their IP address blocked instantly as well.
Yeah. So if you say Bobberman, you're all right.
But the thing was, though, going back to the Chinese rover thing.
Yes.
The actual website that we were actually looking at, we had gone onto the show. We went to go onto that website, and it had disappeared.
It was the Changi 4.
The whole thing had just vanished. The website, all the information gone.
Yeah.
There was no, you couldn't even get a sniff of it. And we're just like,
someone's definitely trying to cover their tracks.
Yeah, exactly.
It was very suspicious because it wasn't it. We'd both watched. We both. Oh my god, this is fascinating, and we were making notes and this, that, and the other, and we were talking to each other all throughout the day.
We were passing clips backwards and forwards to each other all day, going, "Oh my god, have you seen this clip? Have you seen that?"
Yeah.
Yes. And it was all on this Chinese website.
We started the show that night, and we were like, "We've got some mind-blowing stuff for you," and we went to go to the website to start showing everything and put it on the show and include it and everything. Gone.
Couldn't find it.
The stuff we sent each other, gone.
The thing was, though, that I can't remember whether you did or not, but I had actually saved the web address. The actual website, I had saved it. And I clicked on that to go to the website so I could get to it easier.
Oh, Tony's had his internet cut off. Have you been saying the G word?
He's like, I'm not allowed to be here anymore.
Half of them comments aren't coming up on my phone.
No, I'm not getting anything at all.
Well, this is what I was getting at. Is the fact that this happened, and it was also in the national press that there was a light seen on part of the dark side of the moon, and they'd moved the Changi 4 to go and see what it was. Now, it already reported on the bomb craters and the bombed up buildings and stuff that were there that we saw, and then they turned it to go to this light, and then everything went gone off the internet. So, and that brings me neatly on to what was it you would like to talk about tonight?
Oh wow, where do I start? Starting, of course, so my lovely husband Mark came home one day.
I'm not her husband, Marcus.
Other Mark, PvP Mark.
Sam, I hope your husband does come home every day.
Yeah, not just sometimes. Like he just disappears. That'd be nice, wouldn't it?
Every now and then.
Come home one day, you know.
I'll be like, comes on one day, and then the next day he's just like on a different planet. That would be good to explain. But yeah, so he came home one day and he said that he had been having a conversation with one of his work colleagues at work, obviously work colleague, and he had some interesting stuff. So he sat down next to me, we were watching a TV show, and then he says to me, well, they have now recently, America has actually come out to say that extraterrestrial life exists. And I was like, oh, okay. And I didn't really take much else from that. I was just like, oh, all right. And he's like, no, seriously. I'm like, no, really, they've come out with it now already through this Reddit thing. This whistleblower has come out and started to talk about what he has experienced, not from him. He said that he didn't experience anything himself, didn't he? He said it was all the recollections of other people that have come to him with certain information. Hello, Ragnar. So he then said, you know, this is real. I'm not just coming out with this just to be funny and to make it comical. He said, I am actually telling you that the US government has actually come out with this straight up. That somebody that was inside, was it the Air Force or the Navy?
If it's the guy with the, that filmed the Tic Tac,
yes, I think so.
US Navy pilot.
Yeah. So that's who. Mark, wasn't that who you were meaning?
Yeah. The one with the glasses. The one with the glasses.
Yeah. So then I've started to look up a little bit more about it. I heard that the actual Congress was going to be happening. And I started to look up a little bit more about it. And me and my husband started to talk a little bit about it as well, about the interdimensional travel, because we do believe that there is definitely other life forms in our solar systems, even outside of our own. But we were trying to come up with different sort of theories and views as to how it was possible that aliens kind of if they were coming down to our planet and onto Earth, how it was possible that it was so difficult for us as human beings to be able to actually make sense of this and then kind of find ways around being able to actually figure out more about these beings. How was it possible that we have not seen more of this over the God knows how many years we've been here? Even dating back to, you know, Victorian era and stuff. Why has none of this been?
Paintings, there's lots of proof in the backgrounds of them.
Yeah, exactly. And then I'm looking at things and I'm thinking, okay, actually there has been stuff that goes right back to those eras, even as far as like we're talking like 15th century. It's kind of ridiculous. What is kind of coming out now is like, okay, no, that there's a lot more to it than people are realizing. But especially with the interdimensional travel side, I mean, we were saying, you know, a lot of the times, like when people have said, you know, we have had other extraterrestrial beings coming to speak to us and coming to communicate with us, because there have been reportings of people saying that they had communication psychically, telepathically, with telekinesis and everything with extraterrestrials in the past. And Mark said, well, how, you know, they're thinking along the lines, a lot of them are thinking they're like passed on extraterrestrials, some of these individuals thought. And Mark said, but how? They said, how about, couldn't it be that they're just interdimensionally traveling to us in that way instead? That they're not dead?
The CIA did, you know, you've heard of MK Ultra?
Yeah.
Right. Well, the CIA, when they were doing that, also did a thing of, what do they call it? Not, I can't remember the term for it. When you get given
remote viewing.
Remote viewing, that's it. I've got the file somewhere. Remote, and it's a proper CIA file. They did this remote viewing, and all they did was give this person coordinates and a time. And it was, I think it was something like 3 million years ago, and a set of coordinates. And they were zooming in on massive pyramids, like massive pyramids. And it was the end of a world. It was dying. These people were dying. They were having a problem with the air quality and everything. Long story short, it was supposed to be Mars about 3 million years ago, when just as the planet was reaching the end of its thing. And they were saying that these people had sent people off to go and find another planet for them to live and start again, and they hadn't come back yet. And that was on one of the MK Ultra things. So
wow.
Our DNA, there is a point in our DNA where you can see our DNA was altered, and in the span of humankind, 20,000 years, or in the span of evolution, 20,000 years is our DNA. We went from shitting in our hands and clapping to I sailed,
Just like that.
farm. Look at my farm in 20,000 years. That
Mhm.
is not possible. It should not have feasibly happened. When you look at the scrolls of the Emerald Scrolls of Thoth, you look at the Anunnaki legends and everything like that, it explains it, and it says that they took us and used their essence and made us into their, not his or solo god, but their image. Now, taking their essence means they took some of their DNA, spliced it with ours. That's why our DNA got changed.
Mm.
But someone raised a question the other day, which I thought was quite interesting. If we all evolved from apes, yeah, all those thousands of years ago, how come we don't see that evolution today still with existing apes?
The only things you got close are bonobos, and the only thing with bonobos is they enjoy having bonky, the same as humans do. It's only bonobos and us that do.
Mm.
But the two people in particular that Sam was talking about was pilot David Fravor.
That was him, yep. That was one of them.
And his co-pilot, retired Navy Lieutenant Commander Alex Dietrich.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think she wanted to have anything to do with what was going on in Congress because she doesn't class herself as a whistleblower.
I've seen her interview, and again, she backed him up to the hilt, corroborated everything.
Yeah, 100. She has backed him up 100%. She still don't class herself as a whistleblower, but she has backed him up 100% right the way down the line. And bearing in mind, this incident was back in 2004, so it's 19 years ago. I think it was in something like November, December time in 2004 on the USS Nimitz. So, you know, there's a lot of time has passed since that happened, and that has created such an impact on their lives and on their memory as well, that 19 years later, they can still recall exactly what happened. You know, after a passage of time and after a short passage of time, some information would slowly sort of either disappear or alter slightly. Their story hasn't altered once.
We didn't, Joe. We didn't. That's just what we were talking about, love. I think you can miss that a little tiny bit. We were just talking about that. The ones we've got the golden blood. My mum's got the golden blood, the universal blood. Can't remember which one it is. Is it the RH? My mum's got it, and it doesn't come from any known species. Even the Denisovans, when they've done all that, they've got the complete genome for it. Even the Denisovans didn't have that blood group. All of you in the chat room that are talking about different species and stuff, you're absolutely spot on. Originally, it was supposed to have been Cro-Magnon man, Neanderthal, and Homo sapien sapien. Now they know there's at least 25 to 30 different types of hominid that would roam in the land. And hominids being hominids all intermingled and did lots of wonderful things with each other. And we are the end results at the moment that we know of. There's also all the tales about everybody that went underground. And I don't mean the Wombles. When Atlantis went off,
Different kind of alien.
the tsunami that set that was happened because of Atlantis blowing up is the tsunami that's represented in every single holy book. Every single holy book has their own interpretation and own variation of the Great Flood. Now, they think that it was that flood that wiped everything out, but most of them went underground. And that was the end of Earthlings 2.0. We're like Earthling 3.0, 4.0, 0.5, whatever the hell. But it happens every few thousand years. But we did have DNA change, and it's been.
And we also have to remember that evolution doesn't stop. Evolution never ends. It keeps evolving, and it will always keep evolving while a species still exists.
Here's one for you. Before we go on with your shit, have you ever heard of dropper stones?
Hang on a minute. Let's have some of my shit.
Shit, pa with a P for Peter.
I thought you said shit.
No.
Yeah, that's what I thought as well. I'm not going to lie.
Have you ever heard of dropper stones?
I'm not the only one that thought it.
You ever heard of dropper stones, Sam? Have you ever heard of the dropper stones?
The dropper stones? No, I'm not going to lie.
There's a
haven't.
legend that a mountain in China, what's it called? Bayan Ha Mountain. There was a UFO crash there, but about 2,000 years ago, and inside it were the Nordic race of people from other planets are, yeah. They look like us,
Yeah.
quite a bit taller, long blonde hair. These guys were supposed to crash on this mountain, and they scared the local Chinese or hunter-gatherer population and went and stayed in a cave near the UFO. And they had these discs, granite discs, minutely etched, like an LP with the groove, and in between the lines of the groove are these hieroglyphs that have been etched into it, which they couldn't have been done back then because there was no tools, no technology to do that. And they kept giving these stones to the locals and saying, we're from out there, we're not here to hurt you, we're not here to scare you, these tell you all about us. But they had no clue, they couldn't read it or anything. And eventually these guys intermingled into this province near the Bayan Ha Mountain, and interbred with the Chinese population. And that particular part of China still to this day has a race of blonde-haired Chinese guys in it. Only that bit. Just like one bit of China has these blonde-haired, blue-eyed Chinese guys, and they're all supposed to be descended from when this race with the Nordics crashed into the mountain.
Pretty awesome.
But at the same time, there is a lot of allegations that the story behind the drop of stones is a hoax.
It's supposed to be, yeah.
And they do actually point the fingers in certain directions because, obviously when they were first sort of appeared, claiming that it's a 12,000-year-old granite discs with inscribed markings that represent an account of extraterrestrial crash landing. So somewhere along the line, something's crashed into Earth. They've recorded what's happened on these discs, and they've been found. But apparently extensive inquiries had found no record of the stones being displayed in any of the world's museums, nor of the existence of any person allegedly involved with their discovery and translation. French ufologist Jacques Vallée considers the tale to be a hoax. Further fictional details are added over time and appear in more recent retellings of the story.
Also, there is genuinely that's the only place that does really have blonde-haired, blue-eyed Chinese guys.
Yeah,
that is real. I think there's got to be something there because it's like the whole reason I started doing this, as we've spoken about before, is for every single legend and every single story there was that original spark that started it. And I think there's something in that original spark, and I reckon there's got to be something there. Look at what's there now. Blonde-haired, blue-eyed Chinese guys. Hello. So.
Yeah.
That's quite interesting.
Has to come from something originally, doesn't it? Always have to originate from somewhere.
Yeah. But I just found something which I'm not too sure about because it still puts an air of mystery into it. There was a guy called Vegera.
Yeah.
Something like that. Had two photos of two of the stones, but they're too low in resolution to show the hieroglyphs. Instead, they are more likely to be bi discs. Bi are round jade discs with holes in the centers, and then when they're buried in the earth, the minerals change them to be multicolored. Bi have been dated back to 3000 BCE and were common in what is now Shaanxi. Some Bi are decorated with parallel grooves and other markings. So could this, I mean, again, have we got the, I don't know, Project Blue Book in operation there, telling you, well, that's what it is?
Is it
blindside us into what it really is? Or is it true? And this is the problem we face every time something mysterious or something strange is discovered or found. Somewhere along the line, someone's going to come along and go, well, actually, no, it's not this. So we'll push that story in your direction, and eventually you'll believe it.
Yeah.
It's also leading us nicely on to your UFO, Sam?
My UFO.
The one you wanted to talk about that we've been going round and round and round and round. Now we're here.
Yeah.
Go.
Go.
We couldn't do this without you. Just went, oh, it was this. Oh,
Yes. This was a number of years ago. It was actually before I even got Mark fully involved within what I do. But I was on a photo shoot when we first started Portrait X. And I remember seeing what I can only describe as these really strange anomaly lights that went overhead. I was in the car with a photographer friend of mine, model in the back. And yeah, we looked up through the windscreen and we saw these 4 lights that went over our heads. Instantly, our photographer guy that was driving at the time stopped his car, and because he thought that there was something very strange going on, something military based, he was thinking.
Yeah.
So he got out the car and he was looking. Well, we were all looking for where they had gone, because they had. I mean, we stopped the car pretty quick, got out, and we were expecting to see those crafts still going overhead.
Yeah.
But they had disappeared completely. And then we heard what sounded, it was really freaking loud and sounded almost like an earthquake was kind of coming on the horizon or something. It was so freaking loud. And still, even now, when I speak to this guy on occasion, he always says to me, I still don't understand what the hell that was when we did that. On that day, and we came across what we came across, and the whole sky as well lit up in this greenish blue tint.
All right.
As well. And I thought, even now I think to myself, maybe that was like a weather front coming in. But it rolled in really fast, and it was literally only seconds before we saw that craft that came in, and we thought that there was going to be a really awful storm. That's what it looked like to us to begin with, but then we saw those lights going overhead, and they were going seriously quick. Really, so fast we couldn't really keep up with our eyes on them. So we don't know what exactly that was. And like I said, that's 3 witnesses there. So I don't know.
Thank you for that lovely story of yours from when you were younger. I was actually on about the UFO that we'd been talking about.
Oh, well, there is that too.
The time traveling one.
The time traveling one.
Where everything disappeared that you were looking into, and then it sort of, if you looked carefully, there was a little bit left.
Yeah, sorry, what was that one again? Just to make sure that I'm on the right track this time.
The one that you said about that they'd got this UFO and they couldn't get in it. And it just appeared.
Oh yeah. Sorry, I'm going off on a tangent talking about my life story there beforehand. But I remember that I spoke to you. I spoke to Mark about it earlier, so that was what I was saying about that as well. It's one of my personal experiences there.
Thank you for sharing that. What can people do?
Yeah, that was a very strange experience. I've never had that before or since. So very strange. But yeah, no, again, that was from when I was speaking with Mark, not this Mark, but my Mark. When we were talking about it, he was saying about the fact, sorry, Mark, could you come in and explain this for me better? Because I have no freaking idea what I'm really talking about. You know, you know the mechanisms that you were talking about inside the spacecraft itself that Dan had told you about. And it was really... So Mark is actually going to come on for just a second to explain it, because he will explain it a lot better than me.
Right, all right, there are 3 engines. All 3 of the engines are almost a triangle on the ship. They rotate at specific angles and then fire almost like a super-powered thruster in sequence, and what that does is it turns the ship so quickly, we can only imagine several times faster than the speed of light, and that is what pushes the ship outside of time and space and enables it to phase through dimensions.
Creates like an envelope.
Yeah, because when a little bit like a black hole,
yeah.
when you're traveling faster than when you travel so fast, you can break the sound barrier. That's where our technology is at the moment.
Yeah.
We can break the sound barrier, and then I assume that the next stage is to break the light barrier, where you're traveling so fast that you can't be seen. And I suppose the next stage of technological evolution after that would be to break time, either the time-space barrier, so that you're actually breaking out of an existing reality that you're in. That's our working theory.
And this, did they say where the ship was from, how it arrived, where it went, anything?
Well, I was in the middle of negotiating a $3 million deal at the time, so I wasn't paying that much attention.
Fair enough. I think
I'll leave it to you.
thanks, Mark, for explaining that, because I would never have been able to explain it that well. So well done. But yeah, no, I think this kind of relates back to some of the stuff that that he was finding on Reddit. To be honest, this guy that Mark was speaking to about it at work, because what they had, it links very, very, very closely to what the guy was saying at the Congress meeting. Very, very similar. He, on the Reddit thing, they were saying that, they were expecting to go inside this ship to be able to get inside and then find the pilots still there.
I'm not. I can't remember where he said that it wasn't just one sighting. They had seen several sightings and were able to watch the videos back and collate the data and figured out that the engines move in the same pattern.
So they all move in the same pattern, all of the ones that they have found over the years.
Yeah, they use they used 3D modeling to determine what angles these thrusters were situated just before the craft disappeared.
Yeah, and it was very similar to what this guy was saying at the Congress as well. Yeah. That they move so erratically that there is absolutely no chance in hell that we could have that kind of technology at the stages that we are now in our technology. We would not be able to recreate that. And a few of the other sightings that they've had, like I said, they were expecting to go in and find a pilot either passed away or semi-conscious or whatever. They would be able to actually take away with them, which sounds awful. There's a type of kidnapping, guys. But they were hoping that they were able to do that, to kind of interrogate, in a way, they were saying, to ask them where they're from, what their intentions are, and why they were coming over to here and how they came over to here. But when they got inside it, all that they found was basically like these panels, and like Mark said, these weird types of engines which were working in a way that we could never have understood or made any idea from, because it was technology that they had never ever come across before. And now, of course, they have also been coming out to say that there is actually some bodies that they have recovered from certain sites as well, which is interesting, because somebody had asked, I think it was in that Congress meeting, actually, wasn't it, where they said that they'd asked, I think they were asking about what, if they were human or not, and he actually came out and said
what biologicals were on board, and he confirmed that they had taken bodies from these ships, and that they were not from this planet.
No, they were not from here, and they were basically inhuman. And so I mean, some of the stuff that's coming through on those Reddit posts that we've seen, that has doesn't have a lot of classified records, but there is a few here and there, which
Yeah.
obviously, like Mark and Wayne were saying earlier, they get taken down fairly quickly. So you've got to screenshot it when you see it, basically, because you won't see it again. They just get it taken down instantly.
Yeah.
As Kate's just said, he referred to them as non-humans. Yeah, exactly.
Non-human, yeah. And that's exactly what we're kind of coming across a lot more of at the moment, it seems. Like through all the Reddit posts that I've seen, YouTube stuff, TikTok stuff, even the ones that I feel are credible, not the ones that aren't. There's been a lot more coming out since this Congress meeting especially has happened. There's been a lot more coming out where people are kind of saying, well, actually, there is a lot more that the government are not telling you. Yeah. And obviously that's another thing that they're going to be coming out with, isn't there as well, Mark? They did say that they're going to be bringing out more over the next month or something.
Oh, it's going to happen. And that nonsense that the guy who runs NASA came out with, oh, we've made another committee and all this stuff's going to come out. And it's like, you're only doing this because you're pooping yourselves, and the CIA and everybody else are going, oh my God, what are we going to do? And then you've got, I know. NASA, never a straight answer.
No, like literally as soon as I saw that, I thought very similar. I thought, they're probably saying this now because it's like, if we don't say anything now, they're all going to be calling us out to say, where's NASA in this? Yep. Where is the other governments in this? I have a feeling we're all going to have to do it at some point.
Yeah, it's got to a stage where they're going to have no choice.
No.
Basically, at the end of the day, there's too much going on now. There's too many people coming forward, and they have now got to just turn around and put their hands up and say,
sorry,
we do apologise, but we were doing
screwed up.
Your best interests. It was for your best interests. We didn't want to scare people, but there is. And they are slowly admitting it. But how much they will admit is going to be another case altogether.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I don't expect that they are going to come out with everything all at once as well. I assume that they're probably going to keep some stuff back. But yeah, it's all a bit like, it's all, you're going to get the likes of people like, say, religious individuals that are going to look at this stuff and be like, and I think this is also probably some of the reason as well as to why they've kept things quite quiet. I wonder if, I don't know, NASA and them lot, governments, they're scared, to be honest, to say it to the masses because of these reasons.
But this has been the biggest problem ever since human beings have been around. Human beings have always been governed by a set of rules, whether they've been a set of rules created by people in power or via religion. There's always been a set of rules for people to be governed by. And the problem is now, is if something like this comes along, those rules that we've been governed by for thousands of years are all of a sudden going to go straight out the window, because majority of the time we've been told we're the only living known things of intelligence on this planet and in the universe. And then all of a sudden it's nanu, not calling Orson or whatever. They're here. And they've now got to admit it, which means all of those rules that we've been governed by for that long are now going to go completely out the window, and it starts a whole fresh thing. And this is where Mark's Project Bluebeam comes into play. Can
I just say that there's a few different conversations going on in the chat room. Eric, the United Nations, no, the United Nations are just as corrupt as all the governments in the world. Trust me on that one. The United Nations aren't going to step in, because if they do, it's out their jurisdiction. It's got fuck all to do with them. The Glocker was experimenting with mercury. It was red mercury that the Glocker was experimenting with. Yeah. And yes, you're right. It did allegedly crash land in the US, and they came along with a low loader, took it off, and went away with it. The Glocker was the German Third Reich time machine that they were experimenting with. And the other thing is, yes, Eisenhower did do a deal with 3 different nations in regards to technology for occasionally kidnapping one human and doing probing and testing on. What else was there? What else was there? There was a few things. I was in there watching it, reading it, going, "Oh no!"
The thing is, though, is the United Nations isn't.
I've got all to do with this, and if they
Yeah,
stick
the United Nations isn't the entire planet.
Ghost, have you farted?
All it is literally a group of countries. It's not the entire planet. And on the side of it, you know, you've got to have the whole planet come together in face of something interplanetary. You've got to have the whole planet join as one, not just 193 countries. Because that's how many countries are in the United Nations. Out of all of the countries in the world, there's only 193 member states and 2 observer states.
The worst one you've got to watch out for, and the ones never to trust, the World Health Organization. They had a lot to do with the coronavirus and the injections being made, and a lot of people made a lot of money.
And the WEF.
And with Mr. Gates on that one. So, yes. Before we disappear, I would like to say I really think the world as a whole
is a great big onion.
Yes, I also think we're ready for the disclosure. I think you may have the Bible Belt in America, but I think even those ding dong dingly dong dongs, even they are going, well, yeah, there are aliens now. You know, maybe 20 years ago they would have gone, oh no, oh my God, but now they're like, crack on with it, you know.
I mean, a lot of people have been talking, haven't they? And they've been saying that it's so open, it's so widespread now that there's been so many people talking about it for so long that, you know, even with the cryptoids and everything else and the Egyptians and Mayans, everybody's just going to be sitting there like, well, we've known this already. We just were waiting for you to admit it.
I think, and we did a show on it, I think all the gods, it's not monotheism. I think it's the gods were in every religion,
everywhere.
The Greeks, the Romans, the Egyptians, they all had a Parthenon. It was all the same amount of gods. You had one head god, and you had one for this, one for that, one for that, one for that, one for that. They all had the same stories, the same events that happened all along the same timeline. You get all the religious books, and it's dig, 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 all the same timeline. I think, personally, the ones from the Sumerians about the Anunnaki and everything like that, I think they were possibly correct, and that the gods had the technology. They weren't gods, they were people from other planets, but so far advanced, millions of years ahead of us, that they had the technology to appear to different civilizations in guises that they would understand. That's why you've got such a variety of the different Parthenon the gods. But I think it was the same ones, and when you look at the religious texts and they talk about the wars that these gods had, the Mahabharata is about the most honest one, because that talks about thermonuclear devices and lasers, and you know how these guys were fighting amongst themselves, and that's how the war started, because of what was being done to us. And in parts of India now, where in the books it says there was nuclear strikes, you can go there and you can read the radiation that's still left over from a nuclear radiation strike from thousands of years ago. How did it get there?
Yeah, it wouldn't have been possible thousands of years ago.
No. There was the remains of a nuclear reactor that they think they found that's 1 million years old, and they also found depleted uranium that goes back to was it 1.3 million years,
something like that.
Yeah,
it predated humans.
Wayne's like, maybe.
I was trying to think of the number, but it does predate humans.
It was 1 million years ago, and the thing is, you can only get depleted uranium via man-made process. You cannot get it in life. It has to be done by the manufacturing process. You can't get it any other way.
Can I just quickly interject something? I need to retract a statement.
Okay, he's retracting.
I'm retracting.
Oh, there he goes.
Right, I said earlier on about we were talking about the WHO and the WEF. Right.
Yes.
It's not the WEF. WHO, the World Health Organization, is a United Nations organization.
That's why I said you got to be careful.
So
Yeah.
the WHO is run by the United Nations. So although 193 countries are a part of the United Nations, the World Health Organization is a different kettle of fish.
And the World Health Organization is also, I think it's the richest organization in the world.
Yeah, and it's run by the United Nations.
Yep, and members of the Illuminati are on board it as well. But anyway,
Good times.
So on that note, and one more thing, I will say, yes, before we disappear,
I've got one more thing as well, so I'll go after you, Mark, because there's one thing I left out.
there's, we were talking about earlier on when we said about all different kinds of hominids. There weren't just Neanderthals and Cro-Magnon man and Homo sapiens and stuff. Did you know that they've done seismographs underneath the Earth's crust now? And they've done thermodynamic seismographs and explosive ones and on all that different stuff. And they have found massive voids. I think it's something like 3.5 miles down under the crust. And in these voids, they've even managed to detect rainforests. Now,
Ooh.
if
What,
this stuff is
inside the planet?
inside these voids, inside our own planet, there's also a void that has got more water inside it than is in all the oceans on the surface of the planet. This is all underneath. And how do you get forests and vegetation growing in a place that's allegedly devoid of light?
Yeah, no, that's not going to be. That's not possible, is it?
Are all these stories about
Mushrooms.
Are all these stories? No, dude, I don't want any tea made out of them. I know that happened last time. I tried to peel myself.
Well, no, mushrooms don't need light, do they?
No, that is right. Yeah.
No.
Could there be other plants that do not need UV light or the radiation from the sun to grow?
But when you look at that's what I was just getting to, was when you look at the old texts and you look at the old explanations about like Atlantis and things, and they say half of them went underground, went into the caves and everything. And then Admiral Byrd found the hole in the top of the in Antarctica, and he's allegedly went in there and was told, "Don't come back. We don't want you guys back here."
They would have had technology to grow the plants anyway.
Their technology underneath the surface is supposed to be way more advanced than us, and half of the UFOs we see come from there.
That's so weird.
So they'd have had sun lamps like 1,000 years before us.
Oh no, it's a weird and wonderful world that we live in, guys.
I think the stuff that's going to come to light is my thing. They're going to confirm that there are aliens. They're going to confirm that some of them are from outside, and then they're going to confirm that actually some of them are from underground.
Some of them are actually underground.
Yeah, and I
because
think
there was
the reptilians.
I can't remember who told me. I think it was a friend of mine, one of my model friends, who's really into all of this sort of stuff. And she said that somebody had also found that there was like thousands of years ago, there was like a whole sort of colony that was based under our Earth as well, inside the core of not core, but in underground, under our Earth as well. And that was quite interesting to look up because apparently there had been like there is actual evidence as well that there was people living underground rather than on the surface.
Well, this is where the expedition of Admiral Byrd comes into play.
Hang on, this Dan.
Oh.
All I want to know is, are these aliens sexy and would they fancy me?
You never know, Dan. There could be a really hot alien out there.
Have you been sniffing Paco Rabanne again, mate?
I don't know why I think they're up there, so I'm just going to stop because then they'll be like, you're this is very bad. You shouldn't be. What do they call it? I've now forgotten the word for it. When you're, that's going to annoy me now. I'll get back to you guys on that one later.
All I can say is there's an alien for everyone.
Oh,
see that figure?
I know.
The figure of speech says plenty more fish in the sea. That's going to go out the window because it'll be there's plenty of beings out there.
Yeah,
and there is. See, I could have I could have just coined
I'm
a new
hoping.
phrase.
Your
I'm
missus is
hope-
gonna kill you, Dan.
Dan is just hoping for that sexy alien.
There's a guy in South America, and amongst some of the many stories of people interacting with aliens, there's a lot about them saying that they regularly have sex with aliens. There's a guy in Mexico.
That worries me.
There's a guy
Well,
in
maybe
Mexico.
maybe that's what the aliens mean by probing.
Yeah, to be fair, you don't know, do you?
Well,
Before we go, guys, I do have one last thing which I completely freaking forgot about. There was another. Mark, are you still there? No, that was a great answer. What was the thing that they
Sam
were talking?
forgot, but Marcus will remember.
Yeah, we'll see. What was the thing that you also talked to me about regarding all of the RAF bases as well? It wasn't RAF bases. What was it? Sorry. Nuclear bunkers, wasn't it? Yeah, I'll get it right one of these days.
Not bunkers, silos.
Silos, okay. I'm not getting it right at all. I'm just going to let you say it.
Anywhere around the world where a nuclear missile is capable of being launched, there have been sightings of an orb-shaped, unidentified spacecraft hovering above the launch pad.
And didn't you say that they thought that it was out of protection? Or that was a theory that they thought it was a protective thing that they were trying to stop us from basically killing ourselves.
Yeah,
Yeah, cool. Thank you, Mark. Sorry, I'm just making him come in every now and again just to remind me.
Well, they did that with one of the testing long-range nuclear missiles, weren't they? And there was the high, what do you call it? The really fast camera, the
really fast camera.
Yeah, the one that takes like thousands of frames per second. That one.
Oh God, I should know this.
The fast motion camera. Anyway, when
motion camera. There we go. That was.
When they were recording the flight, a UFO came out of nowhere and did. I think it was 4 zaps, lasers onto this thing, and then it went through. Done. So
yeah,
they're trying to tell us stop fucking around with it.
Yeah, because they said something along the lines of like. When they were trying to like launch, like people apparently a couple, I don't know, governments somewhere, whether it was Russia or not, I can't remember. But they said that they had actually tested to see whether they could launch this thing. And then it doesn't launch, it just fails. And then they look inside and like all the fuel from the inside has just been drained, but there's there's literally no reason as to why it's gone. It's just like evaporated out of nowhere, and they're like, it's not possible.
And there's been a couple of instances where, as Mark was saying, they have started everything, made it look like all the silos are going to go off and we're going to launch the nukes, and then a few seconds before they launch, stopped.
It just
I'm just trying to find the article, but I found something else which I found quite interesting.
Go on, then.
Of a former Air Force chief claimed that he once saw a UFO firing at nuclear missiles launched from a secret base. And this was in October 21.
Oh, really?
This bloke came forward after quite some time, because apparently this happened in 1964. Ex-US Air Force First Lieutenant Robert Jacobs alleged a craft resembling a flying saucer circled the dummy warhead during a test flight in California during 1964. But despite his claims of what he saw, the former serviceman was ordered never to breathe a word of what he saw, a bombshell press conference heard. So he literally come out with it 2 years ago to say this is what happened. Along with former American Air Force Chiefs, Dr. Jacobs was given an evidence about how aliens tampered with weapons systems during tests at nuclear bases and even shut the missiles down. Giving his testimony at the National Press Club in Washington, D.C., he said, "I was part of a US Air Force cover-up. It was shaped like a flying saucer and was firing a beam of light at our warhead."
There you go.
There you go. So, yeah, it's all coming out now, isn't it?
I think I've actually found the one I was looking for now. Did a UFO cause power failure at nuclear missile base? 50 weapons, lost touch with the control center. Blackout lasted almost an hour. President Obama told of power supply interruption. So that was quite a sort of semi-recent one. That was 2010, October the 23rd, 2010.
Silos at Rendlesham.
Yeah,
I know they did with RAF, the one that's now Rudlow Manor. They did at Rudlow Manor. They did something there as well.
but they were actually, the UFOs were spotted, weren't they? There was something spotted on radar between Rendlesham and Woodbridge.
Yeah.
Before the actual so-called landing.
Oh wow!
And on that note, Sam, would you like to come back on again at some point?
Of course I would. Yeah, talk about more awesome alien stuff. I'd love to.
Okay, well,
That'd
you're
be
really
great.
welcome on any time. So I think it'd be nice to carry on with this one in the future, because we've got David
Yeah.
Young next week, and that's going to be a good one too. So that'll be very interesting.
And hopefully
Awesome.
I will be back in time,
Well, let's hope so. That'd be good.
because I'm not sure what time my flight is.
Just keep us informed. Keep us informed, because I can
You know,
always.
Us international jet setters, you know.
Well, I
Yeah,
may.
there's no interdimensional travel there, is there, Wayne?
I'll be keeping a lookout. It's a day flight, so you never know. I might see something.
I may.
Yeah,
have
you never know.
I may have to put off next Monday's one until later anyway, because I'm right in the middle of moving house. I'm moving a load of stuff tomorrow. I've got boxes everywhere, so I may literally be moving house, so it may give you more time to get home. Dude, have you shat yourself or something?
You can't do that.
Well, then
I'm going to be telling the pilot to get his shift on so I can get home quicker for this.
Well, then you do that. Make sure you do. I'll either be here or I'll be at my new place.
I'll turn on full power so I can get back in time.
Yeah, thank you ever so much for joining us, Sam. It's the first time you've been on here, and you've been great. And I think everybody's loved the show tonight, because we've had a lot of people watching tonight. And
Oh, thank you, guys.
you're welcome. Very active in the chat room tonight. Thank you very much, everybody. Wayne, as always, a pleasure, mate. And you've got that surprise coming
No,
to you.
I'm doing it wrong. No.
Yeah, you've got
Wayne, yeah,
to
that's Wayne.
reverse. You've got to do the reverse.
Yeah.
I tried. No.
That's
There you
Wayne.
go.
Sam,
Yeah.
I
but
did
Sam,
it.
just stay on after the live is finished.
Okay, we'll do.
Right, so everybody else, we will out there on YouTube land and Facebook land and everywhere else. We will see you hopefully next week, and spread the word of the show. And remember, keep your eyes to the skies. If you see anything and you happen to film it, please send it in to us at the Dark Mirror Radio Show at yahoo.com. That is the email address for the show.
That one. That's the one.
We will get back to you.
But just show
I
you
don't
our
have one of those,
boobies.
so
Show you
I
our
can't
boobies.
So keep an eye out, because next week Wayne and I might have something else, because you got something coming in the post and I've got something coming in the post, and you might see something new next week. And if that happens, we might be making it available to people to buy. So on that note,
Excuse me. Does my something coming in the post contain batteries?
yours,
Oh.
yes. Yes. Yeah, we will be the first ones. So anyway, catch you all later. Thank you for joining us, and once again, Sam, thank you for joining us. So
no, thank
Yeah,
you,
everybody.
and thank you to everybody that watched. I will see you guys soon. Maybe on TVP, maybe on Dark Mirror. Who knows now?
you
Or
come
Spook
back
and Ori. Who
Or
knows?
Spook and Ori, or a bit of all. Yeah.